Hello and welcome to the Fast Track to Fully Booked podcast, where we help therapists, coaches and solo practitioners to find more clients, make more profit and maximise their limited time. My name is Will Harlow, physiotherapy business owner and author from the UK. Thank you so much for joining me today, and remember you can find more incredible resources for growing your business at fasttracktoFullyBooked.com. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Fast Track to Fully Booked podcast. My name's Will Harlow and I'm here to help health and wellness business owners just like you to find more clients, make more profit and maximise your limited time. I hope you guys are good. Welcome back to another episode. It's great to be back recording another one of these today from my home in Surrey. What have we been up to this week? It's just been a normal week really. Busy in the clinic. It's still going well. I mean, it's the kind of economic recovery going on at the moment, isn't it? So people are happy to leave their house. They want to come out, and I think some of these problems that have been nagging away, people are now realising that it's safe to come out again. So they're frequenting businesses like mine and hopefully yours too. So let me know how you've been doing over the last few weeks. Always love to hear your stories and your successes in your marketing and your business. If you want to reach out, it's will@fasttracktoFullyBooked.com to let me know how you've been doing. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about something a little bit different today. And the topic of today's episode is going to be selling to cold traffic. Okay, selling to cold traffic. Now, if you don't know what any of that means, or it sounds like gobbledygook to you at the moment, don't worry. I'm going to explain everything bit by bit. I'm going to break it down to you, and it might just be a strategy that you think that you could apply on your business by the end of today's show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a bit about selling to cold traffic. I'm going to tell you some stories from my own businesses and about how I've found the process of selling to cold traffic. I'm going to tell you about some of the lessons I've learned from doing it in my own business, because after all, that's what we do here at Fast Track to Fully Booked. We test everything out ourselves before we talk about it on the podcast. And finally, I'm going to give some of my recommendations to health and wellness business owners who are hoping to do the same thing. So let's just define a few terms before we dive into selling to cold traffic, okay? Because not everyone knows really what that means, and selling to cold traffic is quite a marketing term. So don't worry if you don't know what that means, because I'm going to explain it now. So the terms we need to define. First of all, cold traffic. So what is cold traffic? Well, quite simply, cold traffic is an online marketing term that describes people who have never ever heard of you before. So complete strangers to you and your business. So if this is the first time you've ever listened to the Fast Track to Fully Booked podcast, you are cold traffic. Okay, you're cold traffic. It's the first time you and I have ever met. Okay. Similarly, if you've just landed on my website after a quick Google search, you have no idea who I am, you don't know if I can help you, you're just looking for a solution to a problem, then you are cold traffic. Again, in that example, because we don't know each other. It's the first time we've ever met. And when I say met, of course, it's just the first time you've come in contact with my online or offline presence. So those are two examples of cold traffic. And a lot of marketing revolves around making a good impression to cold traffic. Okay? People who've never seen us before or heard of us before, if we show up in front of them and we make a good first impression, quite simply, they're more likely to come back. They're more likely to come back to our website. They're more likely to listen to our podcasts again. They're more likely to watch more of our videos. So after someone has watched a few of our videos or listened to a few podcasts, or they've come back to our website, or they've seen one of our ads before and they're seeing a different ad again, they are what we would call warm traffic. Okay, warm traffic. And they're warm because they know a little bit about you, they know who you are, they recognize you, okay? They've seen your face before. And just the fact that they're a little bit more familiar with you than someone who's in the cold traffic category means that they have a little bit more trust in you. So they might stick around for a bit longer and listen to what you have to say. Now, if you ask anyone in the online or offline marketing world, they will tell you it's much easier to sell to warm traffic, okay, people who have repeatedly visited your website or repeatedly consumed your content or repeatedly opened your emails, than it is to sell directly to someone who's never heard of you before. So just think of how you do business, okay? How often do you go onto someone's website and type in your credit card details to buy something, even though you've never visited that website before? You might do it sometimes, okay? You might do it a couple of times if that website has got exactly what you need. But more often than not, you'd prefer to buy it from somewhere familiar, okay? It's one of the reasons why Amazon does so well. It's so familiar, it's so well known that if you can buy the same item for the same price at two different stores, and one of them happens to be Amazon and one of them happens to be one you've not seen before, you're probably going to choose Amazon every time. And the reason for that is that you are warm traffic to Amazon. You visited Amazon before, presumably. Okay, I know I have. So if I see something online and I think, I want to buy that thing, but I'm not sure about this website. I've never been on it before. It looks all right, but I don't really want to be putting my card details into another website. I will go and see if Amazon has the same product. Okay, and if I am doing it, I'm guaranteeing to you that others are doing it as well. Maybe you are too. So cold traffic, selling to cold traffic is a very tough thing to do because we're trying to sell to people who don't know us, they don't like us, and they don't trust us yet. Okay. Now, before we dive into a little bit more, I need to define two more terms for you. So the next term I need to define is the term a lead, okay? Leads. So what is a lead? Well, a lead is someone who has given you their contact information in exchange usually for a freebie or to make an inquiry or to take a lead magnet, okay? So a lead is basically someone who has landed on your website or approached you on social media or whatnot and decided that it's worth them giving a small amount of their personal information to you in exchange for something you have to offer. Okay. Now, the important thing to note about a lead is the fact that a lead has not bought anything from you yet. Okay. They have not entered their card information into your website. They have not given you their credit card to put through your card reader. They are just someone who's potentially interested. They like what you've got to say so far, and they're willing to exchange a little bit of personal information in order to get more. Okay, that's a lead. Now contrast that with a customer. And a customer is someone who has physically bought something from you, whether it's online or offline. Okay. Now, if you're talking to two people and one of them happens to be a lead and the other happens to be a customer, it's a universal rule of marketing that it is easier to sell to that customer, okay, to sell something else to the customer than it is to sell the first product to that lead, okay? So if I have a customer that's bought one of my previous products and I have a new product, it's much easier for me to sell my new product to that past customer than it is to approach this lead and say, hey, you've never bought something off me before, but would you like to buy this? I'd have a much higher success ratio with the past customer than I would with the lead. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, you've sort of given us a few random facts, like how do these tie together? Well, everything I've just given you there sort of builds the thesis as to why I thought it was important to investigate the process of selling to cold traffic. Okay? So, let me talk first of all about the classic way that I teach marketing and how I teach business owners to sell their product or their service to people online. So today really is going to be best for people who are selling products online, but if you have an offline business as well, you could find that this approach works just as well. We're going to talk about how to use it for both scenarios at the end. So the classic way that I teach business owners to market, and I teach people to run their business, is you start off not by trying to sell something to cold traffic. You start off by introducing yourself using some great content, like a video, a podcast, a blog post, something like that, to cold traffic, okay, to people who've never heard of you before. And you might get that stuff in front of them through ads or your social media or other things like that. Now, the second part of the process is you're going to find people in that cold traffic audience who want to hear more from you. So the second part of the process is you offer them something called a lead magnet, okay? And a lead magnet is a freebie, whether it's a free report or a PDF or a audio guide or a video or something else that they have to exchange their contact information for in order to receive. Okay, so that's step 2. Step number 3 is that you take those leads and you do something called nurturing them. Okay, you nurture them. You send them emails over time. You give them a phone call if that's appropriate. You send them more information that might help them make a good decision about working with you in the future. Okay, and then the fourth part of the process is you convert some of those leads into paying customers. Okay, now this is the way I've run my physio business, and this is the way I've also set up this business, my Fast Track to Fully Booked business. So I start off with content like this podcast, then we try and push people towards a lead magnet, which in this example would be my book. The next thing would be they enter something called a nurture process where they get more free information. They're given things that are actionable. They're sort of given free content and more bits and bobs that they can go and get actionable results with. And then some of those people are going to be impressed and they're going to want to buy something from me. So in this example, it would be my courses. In my physio business, it would be physiotherapy. And that's how I've built both businesses. And don't get me wrong, it's a great methodology. And if you nail it in your business, then you're almost guaranteed to be successful because it's proven over centuries that this kind of thing works. Obviously, back in the olden days, they wouldn't have automated email systems. But you can find examples of old ancient businesses that have used a similar strategy to get people coming back over and over again, keeping in touch with their past customers, giving them something initially for free, helping them out before they make a decision to become a paid customer. Okay, it's just a universal law of human nature. This is how people like to do business. So it's a great way to do business. Okay, and don't get me wrong, I would definitely tout it to everyone in the health and wellness space, and it's what my course Zero to Fully Booked is all about. Okay, however, there are some drawbacks to it. Okay, it's not perfect. For a start, it's quite a slow process. Okay, it's slow to get someone to first of all read your content, then to take a lead magnet, then to be nurtured, and then to turn them into a customer. That can take months. Okay, if you're a patient business owner, which I happen to be one, you can wait and you'll get the rewards at the end. Okay, but it's slow. It does take time. It's also true that it's getting harder, okay, to make this process work. Not hard enough to make it impossible, and not hard enough to make the material that you'll find in my course Zero to Fully Booked obsolete. It's still probably the best thing I've ever put together. But it's getting harder to make this process work. You have to be on your game all the time, okay? And the other problem with this is that if you're like me and you want to make things go a bit faster, you're going to use paid ads. And paid ads obviously cost money. Now, in this process, okay, bearing in mind that we have 3 steps before anyone becomes a customer, it can mean you have to put up quite a bit of money up front before you see anything back. Okay, so those are the 3 drawbacks to the approach I've always used. Okay, it's slow, it's getting tougher over time, and there's lots of spend up front in some situations. Okay, none of those things would make me switch tack. I'm always going to use this system just because it's worked so well for me. But those are the drawbacks. Now, because of those drawbacks, it got me thinking. Okay, it got me thinking because I quite like to experiment. I like to play around with new strategies. I like to think, what could I do differently that could accelerate my business? And I obviously thought as well, like I said at the start of this podcast, that I know for a fact that past customers are more likely to buy more stuff than cold or just warm leads. Okay, customers are more likely to buy than leads. So in the classic way that I have run my business, it takes 4 steps before I acquire a customer. What would happen if instead of it being the 4th step that someone becomes a customer, what would happen if they became a customer in step 1? Now, you might be thinking, kind of runs against what you've been teaching all this time, Will. And yeah, I get it. It does. But there are a few ways that I wanted to play around with where I thought it might be possible to acquire a customer from step 1 and not put them off, still be able to build trust, still be able to establish my credibility, and still make them feel like they're getting incredible value from me. And then run them through a nurture sequence just as I had before, and then get them to buy more stuff, but hopefully at a slightly higher price point. So the next thing I did was I started to plan how I could initiate a campaign like this, where I was going to sell directly to cold traffic and then try and sell my newfound customers something else at a higher price point later down the line. Okay, so just so you're aware, the campaign I'm going to run you through, or the 2 campaigns, they were set up for this business, which is my marketing and coaching business. Now, I know you're going to be thinking, it's all good and well for online marketing stuff, but will this work for health and wellness? And I can promise you that it will still work for health and wellness. I'm going to try and make some recommendations at the end of today's show as to how it will work. But the main thing to understand really is how I operate in this business is very similar to how I operate in my physio business. There isn't a huge amount of difference. So if you know that fact, then you can take the lessons that I learned from the campaigns in this business, and I'm sharing with you today, and you can apply them to your health and wellness business instead. So let's talk about the plan that I put together. Okay, so I put together a brief plan. And my plan was I was going to start off trying to sell a very low price point paid product to cold traffic, so people who have never heard of me before. Okay, then those people were going to be entered into a very similar nurture sequence than my unpaying leads were. And then at the end of that nurture sequence, I was going to offer them a premium product at a higher price point. And what I was hoping to find is that even though I was going to get less initial sign-ups, because obviously these people are going to be paying money, at the end of the process, I was going to have more high-paying customers than I get from my unpaid leads. Okay, so classically I was giving away a PDF copy of my book, which I still am, but I wanted to test that against a paid copy of the book, but in paperback form. Okay, so I knew that if people really wanted to get hold of the paperback at the same price as they can get it online, they probably would have just got it off Amazon. So I decided to make a bit of a creative offer, and I offered people a copy of the book, a hard copy of the book for free, but with paid shipping. Okay, so it was called a free plus shipping offer. So what I designed it as was that people could have the book for free, but they had to pay a shipping and handling cost. And I think I made that cost something like £4.99. Okay, so enough to cover the packaging and the postage. So I decided I was going to push this offer out in the same way I push out my free offer for my lead magnet, and that's through the use of Facebook ads. Okay, I love using Facebook ads in this business. I do use it in my physio business as well, but in this business it seems to work particularly well. So I pushed the advert out on Facebook, and I paid for it to be shown to people who are in a lookalike audience of the other people on my email list. Okay, so the other people on my email list are typically health and wellness business owners. They're people who are interested in growing their business. They are interested in, diet, lifestyle, nutrition, and helping their clients. So I told Facebook to take the whole list of people I have on my email list and to kind of hash it against the rest of their users and to show my new advert to people who are similar in their profiles to the people I already have on my list. And it's by far and away one of the most powerful things you can do on Facebook. So the ad went out to those people, okay? And basically I was looking to see what people did, how they responded. And the most obvious thing that came back to me was I had far less sign-ups for the paid product than I did for the freebie. Now that's obvious, isn't it? So I knew that was going to happen. But the fact of the matter is, people still wanted the paid offer. Okay, so I still had people buying it. Now, I was spending probably, I think it was about £10 a day we started this campaign off at, just to see how we got on. And I found out that every 2 to 3 days, I would get someone buying the book. So I had people buying the book every couple of days, and I worked out that the initial run of the campaign, which was, kind of entry-level copy. It was the first time I'd written copy for this offer, and the landing page was similar to the free one, so I hadn't put a ton of work in. And I decided to run the numbers, and it worked out that I was getting a new customer, okay, into my system for about £30. Okay, so it's costing me £30 to get a customer. Now, I was selling this product, okay, and the product I was selling was being sold at a break-even cost. So it was being sold for, I think it was £4.99 or something like that, and it was costing me a couple of quid for the book and a couple of quid for the postage and packaging. So I was getting a customer to spend the same amount that I was spending to create the product and then shipping it out to them. Now, the problem with this was that everything I was spending on ads was obviously a deficit. Okay, so the £30 I spent on ads to generate a customer, that was lost to me. So the first lesson I learned was I needed to be a little bit better with my pricing, because my pricing was letting me down. I was making a loss up front. Now, I ran this campaign for a while, and I tracked the results over time. And what I wanted to compare the results to, or the results of, was how many people from my new campaign went on to buy my premium products compared with how many of my free leads go on to buy my premium products from the past. And what I found was that people who bought my initial paid offer did go on to buy the premium courses at a higher rate than people who had just taken the free PDF. The problem was I wasn't getting enough people through the system at such a low ad spend for it to become profitable. Okay, so I'll give you the too long didn't read summary, and that is that I lost money on this campaign. The campaign didn't work. Over a period, I think it was 4 months we ran this, and I crunched the numbers, and I'd come towards breaking even, but I hadn't broken even. I had lost some money on the deal. Now, the fact of the matter is, if I keep that experiment running and I track those people over a long, long time, it may turn out that the campaign does actually become profitable, because if someone buys one of my premium products 2 years down the line, I've made profit. But for the sake of bringing you guys this training, and for the sake of wanting things to happen a bit quicker in my business, I decided to cut my losses and stop the campaign and start to rethink. Okay, so the big lessons from this first campaign, the campaign that didn't really pull a profit, were that you need a big reach just to generate a few customers. Because people are much less likely to buy something than they are to take something for free, you have to show your ad to a lot of people before you start to generate new customers. And obviously you need quite a few initial customers in order to have enough people to sell your premium products to later down the line. So this campaign may have been different if I'd had a big budget or if I'd set aside a lot of money to spend, but really I was just doing this as an experiment. I was doing it for fun to see what happened. Now the second lesson I learned was that your pricing is incredibly important. So the pricing of this first offer, this initial offer to your cold traffic, is very, very important that you get it right. And quite frankly, I was getting it wrong. Okay, I was using a physical product, so it had a material cost to me to get it ready for people and to send it out, not to mention the time I spent visiting the post office to ship off all of those offers. And I just hadn't priced it correctly. Okay, but with a physical book and a free plus shipping offer, you don't actually have that much flexibility when it comes to pricing. Okay, because people aren't stupid. They're not going to pay 20 quid for shipping. Okay, so you don't have that much flexibility. You're still going to have overhead costs if you're choosing a physical product to begin with. So my advice is, don't choose a physical product as the first thing you sell to people, because you're going to end up probably making a loss up front unless you have an unbelievable product that everybody wants. Now, the other thing that I forgot to tell you earlier is that I did mess around with the copy on the ads, and I did mess around with the copy on the landing page for this campaign. And I found that with some tweaks, I could take my cost per customer down from about £30 per person to about £18, I think we got it to, per customer. So that's quite a significant decrease, isn't it? That's like a 40% decrease in cost per customer. So that's something else that I took as a lesson from this, is that small tweaks to your copy can make a big difference. So test, and test again, and keep tweaking things and running the results and having a look at what the numbers say, because chances are you can make your results better with some very simple tweaks. Anyway, that was campaign 1. So I wrote that campaign off, not as necessarily a failure, because it did generate some new business, but I chalked it off as a learning experience. Okay, it was something that helped me with my education. It helped me decide what works well and what doesn't work as well. But I decided I wanted to cut it short. I thought, I don't want to keep this campaign running. It's a risk it will continue to lose money. It might turn a profit eventually, but I think I can do better. Okay? So I had a look at what I've got in my business portfolio, shall we say. All the assets I've got, all the trainings I've done, all of the videos, things like that. And I thought, what else have I got that I can sell to people? And I looked at my initial book offer and I thought, the book's great, but I was offering it to people along with a couple of bonuses, and it was becoming a bit confusing, and I wondered whether people were getting a little bit put off by the fact that they were getting so much different stuff, and some of it was coming through the post, some of it was being delivered through email in the shape of the bonuses. I thought, I need something a bit simpler, okay? And what the other thing is, I needed a digital product to give them, because giving them physical products is great, but obviously there's a big cost to me. So I had a bit of a brainwave, and I thought, do you know what? The other month I delivered a short Google Ads training to a group of my students, and it was received really, really well. I had people buy tickets to attend the event, okay? And the event lasted, I think, 2.5 hours, and I delivered a load of value on Google Ads. Okay, it's one of my favorite sessions that I've done, and I still had the recording of that. And I thought, a lot of the business owners I speak to are very, very interested in Google Ads. So I thought, I wonder what happens if I turn the replay of that product into a mini course and I sell that to cold traffic using Facebook ads. Now, the benefit to this is that I could charge a higher price point because it's a very in-depth product. Okay, it's 2.5 hours long, And it was well received the first time, so I know it's a good product. And I've already sold it, so I've kind of pre-validated the idea. I just needed to test whether other people in the lookalike audience I already had would be interested in learning more about Google Ads. Now, I decided I was going to give it a go. So I repackaged the product. I created a landing page for it, a sales page. Okay. I wrote some ads, just telling people about the benefits of Google Ads and who this might be good for. And my aim when I was pricing the product was to come at what I call level 1 break even. Okay. I wanted to break even on my ad spend in that first step. Okay. So for every £10 I spent on ads, I wanted to pull in £10 of revenue from the Google Ads product. That meant I was effectively acquiring leads for free, okay, customers for free, and hopefully those people are going to buy more from me later down the line, and that would be pure profit. Okay, so if I can break even from step 1, okay, step 1 of the process, then everything else later down the line is profit. And that's obviously the holy grail of business. So I priced the Google Ads training at the same price that I'd priced it when people were buying tickets to attend the live event. So I think it was £27 we've got it at the moment, which is the same price people paid for a ticket to come along live. And even though the people who came along live had the chance to ask questions, I replaced that with a 30-day access to me via email where you can ask any Google Ads question you like, which meant that the people who were buying the course later down the line, they weren't getting a rough deal. Okay. Now, I started to push the ads out to people. Okay, I started off again with a low spend of £10 a day. And I found that people were buying the product. People decided, obviously, that it looked like a good product. People liked my ad copy. People were engaging with it. People were asking questions. And I was getting customers into my system, which was fantastic. And I found that if I ran the numbers, if I spent 70 quid a week, I was getting approximately £70 back from sales of the program. I decided that I was going to ramp up the spend, so I spent a bit more, and luckily the correlation continued. So if I was spending £20 a day, on average I was creating £20 of revenue from that. So what's the difference between this and the book? Apart from the fact that the Google Ads training is priced higher, the difference, I think, is that I found better product market fit. Okay, my market, I don't think they were as interested in getting their hands on a paperback book as they were on getting their hands onto a course that was going to give them a specific actionable skill. Now, one of the better things I think about the Google Ads product is that it had clarity on what it was. It was clearer what it was going to give them. I think people like that more than the book. And I just think that people engage with it more. It had a better promise, an easier claim to back up. And I just like the product more. So I think I probably was able to sell it better myself. So that campaign is still running at the moment. We're still tracking what happens to the people who bought the Google Ads training. But I must say, guys, the preliminary data is looking good. People who bought the Google Ads training, a few of them have already gone on to buy more premium products, which is fantastic. And that shows me that this selling to cold traffic approach does have potential. It has the potential to work in my business, and I'm sure if it works in mine, it has potential to work in yours. So in terms of what I've learned so far, even though I don't have the full results from how this campaign plays out over the next 6 months, I will deliver this to you guys later on the podcast. But I do have some recommendations from some of the lessons I've learned from this process. So my first recommendation, based on the fact that my second campaign performed so much better than the first, is that you should be spending a very, very long time working on your product to market fit. Okay, it's super, super important. That first offer is absolutely vital. Okay, working on your product to market fit is one of the highest leverage tasks you can carry out. And how do you do that? Well, the best way to do it really is to speak to people in your audience. Speak to people in your community. Speak to the people who are your target audience. Or think back to the conversations you've had. Okay, what do people always ask you for? What do they hope that you'll be able to provide to them? What's the number one problem that they want you to help them solve? You should be building a small product around that thing. And that small product might be a course. It might be just be a one-off video. It might be a mini book. It just has to be something with enough value that you can sell it for a reasonably small price point just to get people in your books. Now, the second thing we need to think about, okay, my second recommendation is that you spend a long time considering your price point. One of the biggest differences between campaign 1 and campaign 2 that I run was the fact that my Google Ads training is at a higher price point than the paperback book. And that was about a factor of 6 or 7. Okay, so it's 6 or 7 times more expensive than the book. One of the reasons is that the campaign does or the product does actually have higher value than the book. But the other thing is that it just is targeting a slightly different pocket of people. Okay, so think about the people you're targeting. Think about the kind of prices that they're going to be happy to pay up front before you choose your price point. Now, bear in mind that if you have a higher price point, you can reasonably expect to sell to less people. That tends to be how it works. If you're selling a product for £1, you can probably get more people into your system than if you're selling the same product for £5. But you might overall make more revenue if you choose the £5 price point. So you need to think about it carefully. It might take some trial and error. Don't be scared to tweak your price, guys. If it's not working, you can change it. Now, the other recommendation I have for you guys is something we've touched on already, and that's to keep your initial product digital. I don't mind what your premium product is. Maybe you're selling people coaching or face-to-face treatment, or maybe it's a course like mine. But that initial product should be digital. If you don't have it as a digital product, then what you're going to end up with is being in the same situation as me, where you're making a loss selling a physical product. You're running down to the post office every day to post more. It just becomes a bit of a headache. Okay, you don't need that. You just need to test the waters with a digital product and keep your profit margins higher. Now, something else I wanted to recommend to you guys is that you invest in your copywriting skills. Now, I found that I could significantly improve my results just by changing some of the copy or the headline on my landing page and my ads. Okay, it really was such tiny tweaks to the copy. They made big differences. And I'm not going to dive into copywriting here. I've got other podcasts on that topic. If you are interested, just search Fast Track to Fully Booked and copywriting in your search bar and something will come up. But make sure you're investing time and maybe even money in learning how to develop your copywriting skills, because it is such a high leverage task when you're selling online. I can't stress that enough. Now, the other thing to bear in mind, this isn't financial advice for what you should do with your marketing budget, but something that I found worked well for me was when I was at that break-even point, okay, when I was at the point of generating £10 for every £10 I spent, I increased my ad spend. I started to put more money through the system. And all that did was increase the number of customers I was getting, but I was remaining at the break-even point. So instead of spending £10 a day, I was spending £30 a day, but I was also generating £30 in revenue. So my break-even point was still the same. I was still at zero. The difference was instead of having one customer, I had 3. Okay, so that is a huge benefit. And if you're breaking even all the way up, it makes sense to keep increasing your ad spend. Now, there will come a point where you reach a critical mass and it doesn't always work out that it raises in line. You might find that you increase your ad spend to a set point, but you're not getting the same number of customers you were. Part of the reason is if you're using Facebook ads, the Facebook algorithm will just simply run out of people to show it to. So it will start to show it to the same people again, and your profit margins won't be as high. So if you are increasing your ad spend, keep an eye on your budget, keep an eye on your results before deciding what the optimal number of pounds to spend per day is. Anyway, that's just about everything I had for you today in my notes about my selling to cold traffic campaign. I just thought it would be an interesting thing to bring to you guys. It's a little bit different than the stuff we talk about on this podcast usually. Usually it's about building trust, etc., which is very, very, very important. But I wanted to play around with some real online marketing stuff, and I thought you guys might be interested in hearing the results. If you've enjoyed this podcast, it'd be great if you let me know. It does help if you let me know, because then I know what kind of content to bring to you guys in the future. But before you go, I wanted to give you a couple of resources. The first resource really is just a couple of ideas that I've had for health and wellness business owners who are looking to apply this to their business. And that really is a few ideas on the fact that you could write your own book and turn it into a PDF or a physical copy. You could record yourself like I am now and turn that into an audio product and sell that to your audience via cold traffic means. You could create a course, a video course, or a mini series or something like that. The possibilities really are endless when you're putting this into action in your own business. But obviously I haven't had a chance to go into a lot of detail on those ideas. And if you're struggling for an idea, I'd like to offer you the chance to email me this week, will@fasttrack2fullybooked.com, and I will do my best to help you out in choosing a product that you can create to sell to cold traffic. Now, here are some other resources you can get your hands on. If you're interested in seeing the exact product I sold to cold traffic that went down really well, it's my Google Ads mini course. Okay, it's a 5-module training, 2.5 hours long in total, and it will give you a lot of information that can really help you nail down your Google Ads and start to create profitable Google Ads campaigns. You can get that at fasttrack2fullybooked.com/Google. Okay, /Google. It will give you ideas of how I use Google Ads in my business to generate new leads. It will give you ideas of some of the big mistakes that health and wellness business owners make that they should avoid. And it will show you how to structure your campaign so that you're getting the absolute most out of your Google Ads. So if you want to get that mini course, it's fasttrack2fullybooked.com/Google. Now, the other thing we've talked about in this podcast is Facebook ads. And I make no secret of the fact that I use Facebook ads in both businesses. I think they're really good. It doesn't matter what you've got to say about Facebook. It has an excellent advertising platform. I do actually have a course on Facebook ads for health and wellness businesses if you're interested. Now, it's all about how to use Facebook ads to build trust with the people in your community, and then how to get them onto your email list so you can get them into your practice. Now, if you want to check out that course, it's been available for a while and people who've used it have gone on to have great results. You can check it out at fasttrack2fullybooked.com/Facebook. Okay, that's fasttrack2fullybooked.com/Facebook. And the course is called Facebook Ads Masterclass. Anyway, that's just about everything I have for you guys. Those are the resources for you today. If you want to get a free copy of my book, PDF, not physical, but obviously it's still got all the value inside, you can head over to fasttrack2fullybooked.com/book. But other than that, thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate your time. I don't take that lightly. And I look forward to speaking to you on the next episode. Have a great week, and ta-ra for now. Thank you for listening to the Fast Track to Fully Booked podcast. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you've enjoyed this episode, then I've got something even more special for you. Right now, I'm offering my listeners a free digital copy of my book, Fully Booked, as well as an awesome trust-based marketing audio training and a free special report that I wrote specifically for health and wellness business owners just like you. To claim your copy of all of the above, head to fasttracktofullybooks.com/book before they're all gone. And if you enjoy the podcast, please consider leaving me a rating and a review. It means the world to me to hear from our listeners. Thanks again for listening, and I'll speak to you guys soon.